Well, hey guys, welcome to another episode of Our Drunken History.
We're glad you're joining us here on this episode. We got a good episode planned, I think, this week.
Wife's still out of town, so we're in the living room.
Yeah.
Not the comfort of the living room tonight.
In the air conditioning.
Yeah, it's lovely. Tonight is going to be a fun one. This is one we've been looking forward to. Yeah,
it could get interesting, I think. Kind of takes into two things that Americans really enjoy, and I guess really, some people, all over the world as well. But
they tend to be regional things in the States, though.
True.
Hey, buddy.
One of the big sports for a long time, and it's still pretty popular, is none other than NASCAR. And I know some people have their apprehensions to it. They say they can't turn left. They only turn left. Only turn left. But NASCAR had its roots in in the seedy underworld of American history.
Moonshine running.
And for the special Moonshine and NASCAR episode, we locally sourced some genuine from the hills White Lightning, Mountain Dew, moonshine.
That's not from the liquor store, folks. That's straight from the still.
And that stuff is scary.
We haven't tried it yet. We smelled it, and I think it fucked us up.
It singed my nose hairs when I smelled it.
It is rough.
So yeah, that is definitely some hot stuff right there. And
yeah, that's the one part I'm not looking forward to is tasting that. I'm pretty sure this is the only time in my life I'm ever going to drink real, legitimate moonshine.
Yeah, we had a while back we did the episode and we had some of that factory moonshine that had the pickles in it, which actually was really good.
It was lovely, yeah.
But that's not real moonshine. And it's probably for the best though too, because moonshine has some parts of history where people got sick, people went blind,
people go blind,
poisons and stuff from people not doing it correctly.
So this could be our last episode.
Yeah, you never know. I'm not gonna. Hopefully, we don't drink enough of it to really make a difference. Because
not planning on it.
So,
when my grandma was alive, have I ever told you about the Hooterites?
I think I've heard a little bit, but go ahead if anybody hasn't heard about it. That's listening.
I'm not sure which all states. I believe it's Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota. And then in the provinces of Saskatchewan, Alberta, and I believe Manitoba, there are this group, a sect, I guess I'll call them, of people called the Hutterites, I think is how they prefer to call it.
Okay. Is it like Mennonites or Amish?
Similar but different.
Okay.
They're their own thing. They're not related to either one of those. They did come across from Germany following their prophet. I believe his name was John Hutter.
Okay.
If I remember, I read this a long time ago. But anyway,
I guess that's how you get Hutterites.
Yeah, everybody calls them the Hoots.
The Hoots. I don't give a hoot.
Yeah, they live on colonies that are, if memory serves correctly, they're communal property.
Oh, okay, yeah,
colonies.
Commune.
Yeah, but they're not like hippies running through the forest or anything. Like they
like a cult.
Yeah, ish. Those dudes work their ass off. Those are some hard farming motherfuckers.
Yeah.
The one thing that's different about them and Amish is they actually do embrace some of technology.
Okay.
Like they have iPads.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's not your pad. Your iPad. It's not my iPad. It's our iPad.
Oh, okay.
They do, own vehicles and stuff, and they don't build everything by. I mean, I think they build most of their stuff by hand.
There were some of them, and it may be the same people we're talking about that they would embrace technology up to a point where they could only use it for work. Like they couldn't use it for personal pleasure or personal gain. It had to be like for they were using a tractor to farm or
that may be
like that.
I don't. I mean, I've spoken to them. I can't say that I know any on a first name basis. But anyway, the whole point of this roundabout deal is my grandma used to barter with them
Oh, okay.
And she would trade them stuff, and she would get things like eggs and milk and like, farm fresh products, like really good stuff. But one thing they would make is dandelion wine.
Oh, okay.
And it's not like moonshine, but it is.
Oh yeah,
it's its own,
like a homemade wine, or because I've heard of like rose wine, and I have heard of dandelion wine though too.
They made others.
Yeah,
they made apple wine and shit too. But the dandelion wine was my favorite. And my grandma used to get me a bottle whenever I would go home, and I would leave it in my golf bag.
Oh, nice.
I used to play golf at this place in Vegas called Silverstone, and it has since closed. But I was a member there, and you just would leave your clubs there. They took care of everything for you. And I would leave a bottle in my bag, and I told all the workers, if you want a nip, you go ahead and have some.
Oh yeah.
And when that place closed its doors, and they sent out the email saying, come get your golf bags. When I picked up my golf bag, that fucker was like 50 pounds heavier than it used to be. Those guys all put bottles of Jack in it for me because I've been giving them that dandelion wine over the years.
Yeah, like dandelions, a lot of people don't realize they're edible. You can eat the leaves, you can eat the flowers.
It's like a cattail. Every part of it's edible.
And like, you think of a dandelion, you think of the puff ball at the top. But if you smell of the flower while it's still a flower and it's bright yellow, it smells really sweet.
Yeah.
And they'll crush those flowers up and make wine out of them, I guess. And
it's pretty damn good.
Yeah. That's pretty neat, yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time.
The homemade hooch.
It was, yeah.
That's another name. Hooch is another name for moonshine.
Yeah. So moonshine, do you know have you ever seen people shake the bottle?
Yeah.
With the jar?
Yeah.
So you grab it and you turn it sideways and you give it a shake. So if you have bubbles that disappear really quick, like this one did, it means it's a really high alcohol content.
Really high proof, yeah.
And proof. So there's two different ways that we measure alcohol. It's proof and ABV.
Yeah.
And basically ABV is half of proof.
Yeah.
Proof is historically proof was 54.71% alcohol.
Yeah, because I think it was like at the point where you could actually light it on fire or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember the whole deal, but that's what it used to be. But the U.S., when we started regulating alcohol, decided 50% was proof. So 100 proof is 50% alcohol by volume. Now, I would have to read up on this, and I didn't really have a chance to, but most moonshine is like right at 100 proof.
Yeah,
and that's,
or more.
That's, well, most is like store-bought stuff.
Yeah.
Is it, 100 proof. And that is where it's 50% alcohol, 50% water, basically. Yeah. So at that point is when the bubbles change.
Yeah.
So like if it's below that, you'll get smaller bubbles that tend to linger, and above that you get larger bubbles that tend to disappear quickly because the alcohol is less dense than the water.
Yeah.
So the air is not fighting
that's right.
through the liquid.
Well, and that's why a lot of times
Science.
too
So as you can see, I'm gonna shake that up and I'm gonna let it go, and those bubbles disappear right now, which means this has a pretty high alcohol content.
Oh yeah. Well, and another reason why they would make the alcohol content so high though too is it was less volume, so they could transport more of it at a time, and then leave it up to the end user to mix it, because you'd have people mix it with juice or fruit or what, because that's why you have some of the moonshines that you can buy.
The apple pie, and the cherry, and the pickle. Yeah,
the pickles, because they would stick fruit and stuff in the jars to kind of tone it down a little bit before they drink it.
I wish we had some fruit. I think that shit needs toned down.
Yeah. But you can trace like the moonshine all the way back to colonial times, which actually even before that, but colonial times in the U.S., you had moonshiners, or they just called it, distillers back then. Yeah. And that was a form of currency. You would barter and trade like you're talking about with your homemade whiskey. Yeah. And then you had, it's another instance happened that I want to do an episode on too. You had in the late 1700s, after the Revolution, the U.S. government, I think it was George Washington, imposed a tax on whiskey, and Pissed a bunch of people off.
I bet it does. Kind of hypocritical.
We went to war over taxes, and then all of a sudden we start this new tax on whiskey to help. It was to help pay for the war, to help pay for that debt back.
Funny. We went to war because people were taxing our tea.
Yeah.
And now you're paying like 40% in taxes. Why? We don't know.
Yeah. The Boston Tea Party is over like a 1.5% tax on tea or something like that.
Yeah.
And now we're paying.
No, you're just getting your ass whooped and nobody cares.
I saw a really good meme. It was a picture of like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and stuff. But they all had like American flag bandanas on, and they were like standing there all cross-armed, and like, if we was in charge still, we'd be stacking bodies by now.
I mean, I don't doubt it.
But yeah, those they took their taxes serious, which I think more Americans would do that again nowadays, though too. Because
whatever comes up, whatever mill levies and shit they put out, I'm voting no.
And we'll get on this when we do the episode on it, because we can go in more depth on it. But the long story short, they put this tax on whiskey, and the whiskey distillers and American citizens revolted pretty much. And George Washington had to call up the military to put down another rebellion against whiskey taxes. It was the Whiskey
Rebellion.
Yep. So we can talk about that, in another episode.
Yeah,
because it's actually, there's a lot of that went into it.
I know I like whiskey. We'll be okay on that one.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like this shit. But so moonshine, named Moonshine because it was mostly made at night.
Yeah, and because of the revenuers and the tax collectors that were coming out for the whiskey, people took to the hills.
Yep.
And started making it at night.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen, what was the name of the movie?
Which one?
About moonshine making. Had Shia LaBeouf in it.
Oh.
Lawless. If you guys
Lawless.
haven't seen Lawless, that's a really good movie about moonshine, about how it got started.
Well, and then, we was talking back the episode we did on the St. Valentine's Day Massacre and the gangsters of Chicago and New York and stuff. A lot of that was orchestrated around moonshine and illegal liquor trade then in the 20th century. But yeah, the whole thing of trying to avoid the government and avoid taxes is how moonshine kind of got its name.
But moonshine in itself is essentially raw whiskey.
Yeah, it's because that's why it's clear. So it's
because it hasn't been aged in barrels. Aged whiskey turns brown because of the color of the barrels.
So yeah, Jack Daniel's starts off looking just like this out of this mason jar before they put it in those.
I believe they released a clear version of it.
Yeah, I think it's just like they're unaged, or I don't even know what they call it.
Yeah, but I thought they had released one that was just unaged. Yeah, but so normal Jack I think is 7 years.
I think it's 7 years. I think that's why they call it number 7 or something.
Yeah, and then like the gentleman I think is 12.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at and it's not even just whiskey though too. Tequila, like
it's agave moonshine.
Well, yeah,
Right.
And the silver tequilas are unaged.
Yeah.
But the añejo type tequilas, I think they call it, the ones that have the yellow and amber tint to them, are aged in different forms. But so that adds more flavor and stuff to it. But yeah, so it's just straight whiskey right out of the still.
Which is weird because I'm not the tequila guy, but if I am drinking tequila, I prefer clear tequila.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the
like
silver, white
Patron
tequila.
silver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Cabo Wabo.
I've had that.
That's Sammy Hagar's.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got another episode on tequila coming up that we're planning on doing on the.
He's doing that solo.
About they say the Aztecs are the ones that invented tequila, so we'll have to do an episode on the Aztecs and tequila.
Yeah.
Make sure you leave a comment if you want us to do that episode. A few people voted on it a while back when we did a poll. We haven't got to it yet.
Yeah, we'll get to it. We will. Wait till the next time my wife goes out of town.
Yeah. Yeah. So, there was the original, when we was talking about the Whiskey Rebellion before, a lot of those guys was making a proper whiskey out of barley or rye. They're using grains. But then, it evolved into, in the South, when they started making it out of corn whiskey.
Yeah. Mash.
And that's how some of the stuff like with Jack Daniels and different things got started. And then when just plain sugar became more prevalent, they just started just making it out of straight sugar sugar, water, and yeast, and it was just sugar liquor.
Yep.
That's how I think White Lightning is how the original name for it came about. It was
Really? I thought it was called White Lightning because you went blind and all you saw was white.
well, that too though. Because it has methanol. One of the products of all this, there's a couple different types of alcohol that's getting made in the process.
And methanol will kill you.
It'll make you go blind and it'll kill you.
Yeah, methanol is the big danger with moonshine. But let's get something straight too, though. Moonshine is not illegal because it's not regulated alcohol. That has nothing to do with it. It's because it's not taxable.
Yeah.
And it's not, people don't get permits and they don't pay taxes on it. That's why it's illegal.
Exactly. And then that's the thing. It's like the whole thing with, what's the gangster? Capone. They didn't get him on murder or racketeering or any other shit.
Got him on tax.
They got him on taxes.
Yep.
And that's the same thing. The government doesn't want you to have moonshine because they haven't got their cut off of it.
That's exactly the truth.
And if you want to, like in Arkansas, in Arkansas you can make homemade beer, you can make homemade wine for personal use. You're not allowed to make homemade whiskey.
Yep.
You got to get a distiller's permit. It's like $2,000 a year for a permit.
Is it really?
It's expensive.
I didn't know it was that much.
And because the government wants their cut, and then they want you to pay a tax on there by volume of how much you produce every year too.
I wonder how much they tax us for that. A little bit.
Well, we didn't produce it, so
that's true.
Yeah, so we found it.
We found it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we found it.
And
So we're not distillers, we're bootleggers.
Bootleggers, there you go. And so that's how NASCAR ties into this too. So you had during Prohibition, this is when this really started. Was you had the people making the supply, the moonshiners. You had the populace that had a really good appetite for illegal.
The consumer.
The consumer. So you had to have a middleman that would get the supply to the consumers, and that's where
bootleggers came in. They were the rum runners of the moonshine era.
Exactly. And these guys, this is also during the Great Depression. Jobs didn't pay for shit. People were looking for work, and there was a lot of money in the whiskey trade, and a lot of those bootleg jobs paid a lot better than a normal job.
Yeah.
And so you had a lot of these guys that would take the risk and start transporting this whiskey.
Go get a Model T, and
they started off with Model Ts, and what did they went to it was like a 30 model like Ford Coupe.
Yeah.
They went to, and they realized if they strip out the back seat, put in a stiffer suspension.
Yeah,
they can fit like 200 gallons of whiskey.
Liquor. and if you run out of gas, the shit'll burn.
That's right. So these guys got to modify their cars so that way they could go faster. They could carry more product.
Yeah.
And
they would run from the cops.
And they would run from the cops. And it's funny because these guys were the first ones. Like these were the shade tree mechanics back in the day that they would put different cars together. So they start off with like a 32 Ford car.
Like a coupe, yeah.
And then they would put a suspension from a truck underneath it to carry the heavier weight. Then they would pull the motor, because back then, a lot of those cars came with like a flathead V8.
Yeah.
That was made by Ford. But at the time, there was a V8 made by Oldsmobile that was way more powerful.
Way more powerful, yeah. The Rocket.
And they would pull the V8 from their Fords and put that Oldsmobile V8 in their cars.
Throw a bigger carb on.
And throw a bigger carb or multiple carbs.
Yeah.
And so then they were modifying their car, and the whole point was they were trying to keep the car looking stock. So that way it was inconspicuous to the police and the revenuers, they called them, because it was the IRS agents that was after them.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to blend in with the other cars on the road.
Yeah.
So they were modifying their stock-looking cars, their stock cars.
Right. And that's what NASCAR is, the North American Stock Car. What the hell does it stand for?
Oh, it's the North American Stock Car Racing Association or something like that. It's an acronym. I used to know it. It's the National Association
for Stock Car Auto Racing. That's yeah.
But so then these guys, they would.
But stock cars, what I'm getting at. These cars, granted, they're not stock. They look stock. They're supposed to. They don't anymore.
No, they don't.
But they did up until really like the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, even the late 80s into the early 90s.
Yeah, they
had a stock looking body. Yeah, they were not made of the same materials, but they had the same body lines, the same.
But because you're saying up until the 80s, yeah, because like up until that point, even into the 70s, it was just actual cars that they would.
Yeah, they just had minimum rules that they had to follow. You know, they had to have they had to have posi track.
Yeah, they had
a heavy duty axle, a roll cage, seat belts. They had to have the doors. Originally were strapped shut.
Yeah,
but then they changed it to actually fully welded.
Yeah. So they went through different rules and stuff over the years, but that's how it got started. And there was some car racing clubs in the 20s and 30s, and they didn't like the bootleggers coming out there. They saw the bootleggers as the uncivilized riffraff.
Yep.
And the other car racing clubs were, they were the upper class that, they paid for their cars and stuff like that. And these bootleggers built their cars and came out.
Which I got a lot more respect for.
Oh yeah. So there was lots of fights and lots of animosity between the different car clubs and stuff. And these guys would come out and race and take their money so they weren't only making money off of running their moonshine, but then they would go to these races and gamble and stuff and win money on these races with their moonshine cars.
Which I also don't have a problem with.
Yeah. So eventually the moonshiners started winning more and getting more and more notoriety and a little bit more acceptance into the crowd, and they decided to unify all these racing clubs into one body. And that's how the NASCAR Association came out.
I have looked up and I found two different dates for the very first NASCAR race. One was in 1947 and the other's in 1949. And I don't know which one's the truth.
I want to say, I think it was 1947 was
in Daytona.
Yeah. And I think it wasn't fully established or it fully wasn't unified until a couple years later, I think is what it was.
Then that one was in Charlotte?
I think so, yeah. Because they have a dual headquarters. Like their main headquarters is in Daytona. Then they have another one. I think it's in it's in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's their secondary. So I think that's what it was though too. Like it kind of took a couple years to get fully established.
Have you been to a NASCAR race?
No, I went to a truck race, so it wasn't. I mean, it was pretty similar, but yeah. But yeah, when we lived out in Vegas, and went up to one of those one weekend there at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
I've been to 3.
Okay.
And I'm not like a big NASCAR fan. I mean, I could take it or leave it. I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on it. I do respect that the science that goes into those cars.
Oh yeah, it is. It's insane.
Those drivers are in some fucking rock star shape too.
Well, you have to be. You think because none of those cars, like those races, happen over the summertime. There's no air conditioning in those cars.
Hot as shit.
Wearing all that fire gear and stuff.
Yeah.
And, it's like 140 degrees inside those cars.
Yeah. But I went to the very last NASCAR race ever at Rockingham.
Okay.
In North Carolina.
Was that real short track that was?
It was pretty small. Yeah. It was very basic. It's still used. Like they still use it in like test cars and stuff. But and I mean I'm sure people still race there. It's just not NASCAR. But it was like concrete bleachers. Like it was old school. Yeah.
Old school. Yeah. Gritty.
Dale Jarrett won that one. I remember.
That's one of the reasons why I got the Miller Lite. The
Rusty Wallace,
the number 2 car when I was a kid. Like I haven't watched NASCAR in years, but I remember watching it when I was a kid. And he always drove the Miller Lite car.
My grandma made me a comforter one time, and I don't know why she picked Rusty Wallace, but she did.
Oh, nice.
So she handmade me a comforter, and she bought the fabric at the fabric store in Billings, and she decided on Rusty Wallace NASCAR.
Nice.
So that was the comforter I had for a while. Never figured out why. I wasn't big into racing.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I did that one. I went to into Lowe's Motor Speedway in Charlotte.
Okay.
And saw the Coca-Cola 600 there. And then I went to the one in Vegas one time.
Yeah. And that's you talking about how those drivers are in shape. You know, these races are 400 to 600 miles.
Yeah.
And they're fighting that car the whole time. The car doesn't have power steering or anything like that. And
you think about driving 400 miles.
Yeah.
And it's like, it sucks.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you got to pull over and piss, and like, you got to stretch your legs and go inside and get yourself some 5-star beef jerky.
Yeah.
But these guys don't get to do all that, man. Like, they piss their pants.
Oh yeah.
They
have a tube going through their floorboard.
You're driving 80, and they're driving 180.
Yeah. Well, you think the banks on those tracks, that car, little science thing going on right here. That car going that fast around that track and that bank, it's wanting to rise up and fly off of that bank.
Yeah, they're fighting it hard.
So they're fighting that car the whole time they're driving around that
Have you ever paid attention to how steep those corners are?
I know the one at Daytona. I don't know if it's even the steepest. I think Talladega might be the steepest. But it's
I don't know. But I mean, it's like that.
Yeah, it's like 38 or 39 degrees, something like that. Or it's like
you can't hardly walk up it. Like, you'll fall on your ass.
You can't hardly even stand up on it, yeah. And the cars just want to fly off of that.
I will say the one race that I always really like to watch is the one in, what's it called? Martinsburg, Virginia?
Okay. I'm trying to think.
Martinsville, I don't know. Virginia. But the reason I like to watch it is it's like a pretty short track.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And there's like 10,000 wrecks. Like, 2 people finish that race.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But it's like a fast, because I watched the one at the LA Coliseum this year, and it's such a small track that cars can't get going very fast. I mean, they're going fast, but they're not going like obscene speeds.
And usually those are shorter races though too. Those are like a 200-mile race or something like that, because the track is so small. It's like a half-mile oval, something like that. The smallest track is pretty dang small.
Well, I mean, you figure LA Coliseum holds a football field, and they put a track in it.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But no, the one in Virginia, Martinsburg or Martinsville or Martinsdale or whatever fucking Martins it's called, that track is long enough for them to get going pretty damn fast.
Yeah.
But it's short enough to where, like, no one's turning like three wide.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, because some of those tracks are so small and narrow. There's like a ton of wrecks. That was that one track that I can't remember the name of it.
Buttload, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's when I watched it as a kid. That's all I always wanted to just watch it for the wrecks and stuff. So,
well, to be perfectly honest, besides the Virginia race, whatever that track is called, besides that one, the only one I have ever watched start to finish on TV was the 2014 Daytona 500. And the only reason I did is because my aunt and uncle were in Vegas visiting, and they came over to the house specifically to watch that.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. I mean,
I don't know if I've ever watched a full race from start to finish.
They loved it on because we got the 80-inch TV, and this was when 80 inches were like rare.
Yeah.
The thing cost me like $3,600. That's how old it is. But now you can get them for like $600 at Walmart.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like the first 80-incher to ever hit the market, and my aunt and uncle were like sitting in my living room, it was awesome.
They, I mean, I've had them on TV before, and would just like watch it as I walk by. And I've never sat down. My sister is a huge NASCAR fan. She'll watch them and stuff, but
I put it on at work.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I'm working on Sundays.
Yeah, just
because it's there, and it's like,
it's good ambiance.
It just doesn't. It's something that doesn't take effort to watch.
Yeah.
Like I can nap.
Yeah.
Which I do at work often. I'll claim that. I can do homework if I'm taking classes. I'm not currently enrolled, but if I am enrolled, I'll do homework. I'll fucking.
That's the benefits of being in IT. Sometimes you have that downtime.
You're there, but in case shit goes down.
Yeah.
What happened? Your server crashed? I got you.
Yeah, we'll go fix it and then go back to the couch.
Beer me?
Beer break.
Hey, baby. Please stand.
Do we want to try this totally legal and regulated, taxes paid whiskey right here, White Lightning Moonshine?
Here's the thing. This was a gift from somebody.
Yeah.
And I can't say for certain where they got it. So it very well could be taxes paid, and
It could be, yeah.
I wasn't there when it was.
Yeah, it was a gift, so.
Oh.
And straight in the mason jar too, like it's how it's supposed to be. Oh, man. That has a strong scent.
Oh my God, I can smell it from here. It's like fucking paint thinner.
I'm dreading it. Like,
it's gonna burn.
it's gonna burn. All right, I'm just gonna take a sip of it.
All right.
Smooth. Oh, and not too bad. It got a little bit of aftertaste.
Is it burning?
It burned my lips. Oh, now it's burning. It's burning the chest now. It had a little bit of delay.
Are you blind yet? Can you see? Yeah.
Oh, you want to try it?
Yeah, I mean, we're here.
Oh. I took a very small sip. And that was one thing that they would do. You hear the stories about them taking shots from thimbles back in the day.
Yeah, I can see why. Yeah.
It was so strong. Oh, you took a bigger one than I did. My belly's still burning a little bit. I can still feel it warming up from the inside down there.
And it's not that bad.
You'll be wanting to fight here later.
That one was a little worse.
Oh. I'll have to find you some, put some pickles in it.
It's still not as overwhelming as I thought it would be.
Oh, it's actually it's really good quality. You know, because I've tried.
I heard that this is sought after.
Yeah,
stuff.
Yeah, it's got a good reputation behind it.
I do think that you could put this in your mower and it would really clean the shit out of your injectors.
Yeah, it'd probably run like a demon for a while too.
You know, I got a mower that won't start.
I bet you it will with that.
I got an idea.
There we go. That'll be a whole nother YouTube video there. Like, we're gonna run a mower on moonshine. That was a popular misconception, though. I'm already slurring shit. No, you know, people would say back in the day, if you could light it on fire and the flame would glow blue, then it was clean. But methanol burns blue though as well, so it wouldn't detect some of the contaminants.
I never even thought of that.
Yeah, but so one of the things that were some of
the burp is harsh.
The bootleggers that they were worried about was lead, getting lead poisoning from them, because
the pipes that they were making that they were using with the stills.
Yeah, well, some people were using radiators for condensers for stills, and they were using. They had lead stuff in the radiators. Mm-hmm. They were just pulling a freaking radiator out of a Model T and running the vapor through it to condense it back into liquid. And then some of the soldering stuff, they was using lead for the soldering.
Yeah, I knew that. That I didn't know.
So if you're doing a science experiment, if you set lead on fire, it burns red. So
I didn't know that.
They would, so they'd set the moonshine on fire. They put it in a spoon and light it on fire. And they said if it burns blue, you're good, but if it burns red, you're dead, or something like that. And because of
it's like the
red and yellow kilofella.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, yeah.
But the blue flame showed it was pure, but it was also could have methanol, and the methanol poisoning was what would cause people to go blind and stuff, and cause the cataracts and stuff like that, and cause problems. But you had to drink it in bigger quantities, though.
Okay, good. We're safe then.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, so, and it's what it is in the process. So methanol has a lower vapor point than ethanol. So when you're running your moonshine mash, they called it, through the still, when the very first vapors that start coming off of the still, or it's called the heads.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's chemicals like acetone and methanol,
paint thinner,
naphtha, a few other chemicals that you use as paint thinners and paint strippers and stuff now.
Yeah.
Were some of the very first compounds that come off of your cooking process. And you're supposed to throw that stuff away or save it for paint thinner or something.
So I was just thinking. So I'm just curious. Do any of these alcohol companies today make paint thinner as a side gig?
I think they do. Well, that's the whole reason too. Some of these back during the whole COVID bullshit that went on, some of these alcohol companies started making hand sanitizer because it was the same.
It's a byproduct, basically,
of the same equipment that they used. So they were using their alcohol process to make hand sanitizer.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and ethanol. You go to the gas station and you get
E85.
the E85, or if you get diesel, the B85 or B80 or whatever it is. That's ethanol, corn or sorghum or some sort of grass.
Usually
alcohol
corn.
That's what so they making you're running moonshine in your cars nowadays. If you're getting the E85, you're getting a moonshine.
A lot of companies won't warranty E85 cars.
Yeah, there's
like my Corolla won't. Toyota said they got a thing in there saying if you run E85, it voids the warranty.
Yeah, there's I think most new cars are made to go with like E20 or something. They can go up to 20% ethanol. Mm-hmm. But if you go over that, you got to have the motor has to be specially made for it or whatever to be. Because most of the fuel now you get is like 10% ethanol.
Not in my truck.
No, you get the ethanol free stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll pay the extra $1. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. So, I mean, these products that come off, and so some of the lower grade moonshine or people that didn't know what they were doing, they just put all of it in the jar and you go drink it, and it might have
fuck you up.
Have methanol and acetone in your shit, and you're drinking that. So is when you're making it, you're supposed to let it run for a certain amount of time and you collect that stuff and throw it away. So that way what you're getting is, and actually toward the end of it, it's called the tails. There's a whole nother set of chemicals that you want to keep out of it toward the end of the process as well. So you're wanting to keep the middle basically to keep it good quality.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah, I researched it one time because I was wanting to make fuel. So I was wanting to make some
diesel.
I was wanting to make some racing fuel. So
So run your Model T.
Running my Model T drag car. Yeah. So I did a little research on the process a little bit. So,
do you know who the winningest NASCAR driver of all time is?
Winningest NASCAR driver. I want to say it was one of the older guys, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody knew. But I want to say Dale Earnhardt. Race hell, praise Dale.
He's like eighth,
really? Okay.
Richard Petty.
Oh, I always forget about Richard Petty.
Yeah, Richard Petty. He has 200 career wins.
I always wore that big cowboy hat.
7 Cup victories.
Yeah.
Dale Earnhardt also has 7 Cup victories, but way less wins.
Oh, okay.
I looked this up today.
And it's funny because both
Jeff Gordon is ahead of Dale Earnhardt in career wins.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, Jeff Gordon, he has been around for a while. The Rainbow Warrior, yeah. He was Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt, both. They had the big giant mustache.
Yeah.
He was when I was a kid. Petty was he was pretty much toward the end of his career, and now he's like an owner now of a couple of race teams.
Right. Yeah. The thing that I thought was cool about Petty is he always drove the Superbirds.
Yeah. Those big,
that's like one of my favorite cars of
big
all time.
cars.
Big fucking wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day when they actually drove like cars off the lot, and they would go just soup them up and get them ready to go for a race. But it was like, that was what made NASCAR so attractive to people in the beginning, is because people could go watch these races and watch cars that they owned race and like go.
You could relate to it more.
Yeah.
On the Superbird, let's see if you know this little bit of trivia. There's a vent. It's a cutout. It looks like a little hood scoop above each front tire.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you know why?
I think it was for like brakes, for brake cooling or something.
Most people think that, but that's not true. It's because when they raced them, they actually lowered the front end, and the tires would rub through the metal.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that they cut that out and they put that little vent over the top, and it gave them that extra little bit of space above the tire.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like a little wear gap there. Mm-hmm. Nice. Didn't know that.
Yep. Most people don't. Most people think it's for brake cooling.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of those watching like some of the YouTube videos, some of those old races and stuff. Those big ass all steel cars running around.
Yeah, still hitting 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Could you imagine how much control you'd have? Like, you're just going, fuck you, I'm flooring it, and you're just holding on for dear life at that point.
I'm here for the ride.
When I started dating Keisha before we got married, she had a 2008 Challenger SRT8 with a Pro Charger.
Yeah.
And I think, and it had some other stuff done. I don't know what was all done to it, but they dynoed it in Vegas. I think it was like, I think the most it ever hit was like 742 horse.
Dang. Yeah.
I mean, it was a monster. And I drove that car here, and I hit 0 to 60 in 3.4 in that car.
That's a big car too.
And it's like a 4,000 some odd pound car. I mean, but I floored that thing in Vegas when she let me drive it the one time, and I looked down at the speedometer and we were doing 180.
Shit.
And I let off. Like, it scared me.
Oh yeah, going that fast. There's so much that can go wrong so fast.
That car was awesome, but like, we just didn't drive it enough to justify keeping it.
Yeah.
So we got rid of it.
Man.
But that thing was way tighter than those old, Super Bs and Super Birds and Challengers and
loose steering and all
that.
Man.
Yeah, like, that's a rickety piece of shit compared to today's cars. It just is. Yeah.
Which I guess, probably back then, they probably tightened a lot of that stuff up, though, too. Like, some of those mechanics on those cars, they probably...
Yeah, but that's when you, like...
They were still just winging it, though.
Yeah, you were flying literally by the seat of your pants. Like, left side's loose.
Yeah. Well, and back then, too, those helmets, even when I remember when I was a kid, even with Dale Earnhardt, he'd still wear that big open-faced helmet. Like, he wasn't even wearing a full helmet. He was just... His sunglasses on and...
just chilling.
Like the open motorcycle helmet. Yeah, that's crazy. Those guys. But it's came a long way, though. Now you see the cars now, they look like spaceships pretty much with all the... There's a
lot of technology in them.
The cool thing I really liked, it kind of got it back towards the roots of NASCAR, was actually this last year's Le Mans race. NASCAR entered a car in the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
I didn't know that.
But the car had to have headlights and it had to have windshield wipers.
So it weighed a lot more than a stock car does.
But it was like a NASCAR because it had all the same shit that a NASCAR normally does. But it was like in a regular car though too, and it was a badass car. It was a Camaro, but it was more functional than a normal NASCAR is.
Yeah, that's cool.
Ended up doing really well. He came in second place, I think.
Did it really?
In the GT class. Huh. Yeah. But yeah, it sounded cool. You see a lot of those cars. They have the videos of them driving by, and they're those turboed V6s on some of those cars and stuff. And then you had that NASCAR like V8 come flying by.
Just roaring by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really like the sound of some of that.
Well, that's the cool thing about being at a race is you can actually rent headsets.
Oh, really? Listen into the...
Each team is on a different frequency.
Yeah.
And so you can flip back and forth to whatever teams you want to listen to, and they'll be talking to their pit crew and their crew chief. And
that's pretty cool, yeah.
It is, that was one thing I was really pretty interested in.
Yeah. That's the stuff they need to put. They do it every once in a while on TV. They'll put some of that chatter back and forth, but I think if they did more of it, you'd have more people getting involved in it too. Because some of that stuff, even with like, I really liked it when baseball does the mic'd up when they have some of the players on the field.
They can interview them while they're in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
It is.
They need to do that because they do it for like the All-Star game, I think, and like
they do it almost every game now with somebody.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I don't like though, and I fucking hate this, is in football games where they will interview the coach on his way to like the locker room at halftime.
Oh yeah.
Like, leave me alone. I'm trying to win a game right now.
Yeah, or like, what do you want me? I'm not going to tell you what I'm planning on doing.
Yeah, we need to do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not going to give away anything, I'm actually going to try to do during halftime.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That always kind of pisses me off when they do those.
That's a game where they need to do more of the mic'd up. They do it for like documentaries and stuff, but it's never live. They need to have
I think you'd have to be like a subscription service.
Yeah. Some of the shit they talk about.
Shit gets wild out there.
Yeah.
Verbally.
Yeah. Another good one would be.
But NASCAR does too, man. Those guys.
Oh yeah.
They're dropping some bombs on the.
Yeah.
Then that's. I guess they get in trouble if they swear too much.
Oh yeah.
Because NASCAR oversees it all. They monitor it all.
Yeah.
And they,
I guess
try
if
and
they
keep
have
it fan friendly. Yeah.
Yeah. They have people out there with those headsets on listening to
But I mean, shit, man. If I'm driving 200 miles an hour and like some guy hits me.
Yeah.
Like they're like. We're gonna throw down after the race. If I live through this, like you're gonna be fucked up. Yeah.
And that's some of the best stuff too. You see some of the fights break out during, like after a crash. People they get out of their cars and they start throwing punches.
So do you have a favorite driver?
Anymore? No, I haven't watched it in so long. I used to watch Mark Martin a lot when I was a kid because he's from Arkansas.
I didn't know that.
And he's from Batesville, Arkansas.
Okay.
I think he moved back there now. He was always drove Ford cars, so you hear him on the radio every once in a while advertising for Ford dealerships around here.
That's cool.
And I was Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I liked Junior.
Yeah.
When I lived in North Carolina and like we went to a couple races, I was always pulling for Junior.
Yeah. But other than that, no, I really, because there's some of the newer, I know a few of the names, but most of them, I haven't watched it so long, I don't really know who it is.
Yeah. I always wondered why Dodge isn't in NASCAR anymore.
Yeah, I wonder if it was just like because I know they have like the size restrictions on the cars and stuff like that and different stuff. I wonder if it was something with that.
Yeah, but they're not even stock cars anymore.
That's true.
Like you could, I think Chevy runs the Camaro in it.
Yeah.
Toyota runs the Camry. Camry's a 4-door car.
Well, and Chevy too was running the Malibus for a while too, or the
but not
Monte
now.
Carlos.
Yeah, that's what Dale Earnhardt killed him.
And Ford was running their Ford Taurus for a while.
Yeah, and now they have the Mustang.
Is it the Mustang now?
And Toyota's running the Camry.
Maybe
which if I was in a race, I wouldn't pick a Camry.
But a Camry with a V8 in it.
Yeah, I have a Corolla. It's my little side chick putt-around car.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't race that thing.
No.
It's slow as fuck.
But maybe Dodge just doesn't want to pay like the licensing or something like that for it or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, I'd like to see because all I drive is Dodge vehicles, so I'd like to see a Charger out there or something. That'd be nice. Well, you got anything else to add to our NASCAR episode?
Not really.
And moonshine?
No, I think I'm done drinking moonshine though.
Oh yeah. Oh man, yeah. Yeah, the history with moonshine and it kind of how it integrates with the rebellious nature of Americans with NASCAR and bootleggers and racing and
that's so. I'm curious. Like racing would have got here organically.
Yeah,
but it wouldn't have to take because like IndyCar. Like
Formula
One.
Yeah,
that has nothing to do with this. Those are very obviously not stock cars.
Yeah.
So I don't, I'm curious to see how that would have progressed had moonshining not been a American pastime.
I think it would have been more of what you want to call a gentleman's sport than what what NASCAR ended up being. Because it would have been more like the IndyCar fancy. It would have been a rich man's game versus these guys that were building their cars themselves, coming out and race and stuff. I think
started as a blue collar thing, like most of America's stuff was blue collar to start.
Yeah, because this was stuff people would go, because back then too, when this all got started, it was there wasn't a whole lot of entertainment around either. So like people did this. You got out on a weekend to go watch the races.
And let's be honest, how many of you have not gotten a race at some point?
Yeah.
Just stoplight to stoplight fucking around.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Every one of us has.
Heck yeah.
So, well, guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Hit like, hit subscribe. Check us out on all our platforms.
Yeah, we're available on Spotify, iTunes, Good Pods, YouTube.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's an eclipse a-coming. And if you're in Arkansas, Trav here has a website called eclipseatthefarm.com.
Yeah, so I guess it'll be our first advertisement for it on the podcast.
Popping that cherry.
Popping the cherry. There you go.
So yeah, guys, it's for us, luckily, twice in a lifetime event. But
yeah,
we had the one come through here. 4 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah, so 2017 was the last.
Is that what it was? Yeah, well, so 5 years ago.
And we just got a partial here.
It was still incredible.
Yeah.
But once in a lifetime thing. Travis has a whole setup. He's going to have live music. He's going to have food trucks. He's going to have camping, entertainment. So if you're not planning on going to Arkansas, maybe rethink that.
Yeah.
We're right in the path.
We're going to be where we're located. The eclipse, it's going to happen on April 8th, 2024. So people are making plans for it now because it's going to be a narrow path to be able to see it. And people are coming from all over the world to see it through our area and through Texas. And
if you want to do a meet and greet too with
so we'll do a meet and greet. We might even record an episode, a show or something. Come out there.
I'm gonna have to figure out how to get off work that day.
There we go.
Yeah.
And but yeah, go to our website eclipseonthefarm.com, or you can check out our social medias, and you can reserve a campsite because there's going to be all of the hotels in the area are already booked. Like the Motel 6 is like $800 a night.
Is it really?
For that weekend? Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have been to a Motel 6, but I would rather stay at Travis's farm.
Yeah, so we got I got 40 acres out in the right in the middle of the path of the eclipse, and
glasses on site.
So we'll have plenty of room for people to come out. We're gonna have some live bands, live music playing, and some food trucks. So come out and enjoy it. Go camping with us out there.
Yeah. All right, guys, be safe. Make good decisions. Have a designated driver.
That's right.
Don't drive like you're a NASCAR racer. It won't work out well.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys.
See ya.